John, I'm still a little shaky, man. You have to bear with me this week.
Okay, do you want me to do it?
Yeah, what, dude? Oh, do you want to do something? You can. I was taking the low road this week.
Oh,
right?
okay.
Instead of
Well,
like,
it'll be
well, go for it.
I mean, I could be like,
Yeah, dude.
welcome everyone to the Rage Select Podcast.
There you go. That's great. That's great. I didn't have to do it at all. Yes, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Rage Select Podcast. You go first. You kicked it off.
I'm John.
I'm Jeff, and yeah, we are. Sorry, we just got done beating the next to the last boss in Bloodborne, and oh my god, it was a fucking ordeal of nightmarish proportions.
Half of Jeff's couch is drenched in sweat.
Yep, I'm like, here, John, sit in this pool of tepid sweat and urine that I created.
And controllers are almost broken.
Yep.
It was a sight to see.
Yep. Yeah, that was by far probably the most stressed out I've been over the course of this week. But enough about me. John, how's it going? What's going on with
good.
you?
Yeah, it's going good.
Anything interesting happening in the world of John?
Playing a lot of Until Dawn.
Okay. How do you like Until Dawn? I
played through the story. It's got its problems.
Okay.
It's not a perfect game.
Okay.
But I like it.
Okay.
Because because here's the thing. A lot of people like to compare it to games like Heavy Rain or basically games from like Quantic Dream.
Right.
Which it is definitely on that same level.
I think,
but more competent with its story.
I think they are inviting that comparison.
Yes.
Like between quick time events and the kind of weird.
Yeah.
The controls aren't exactly bad. They just feel a little strange. Like it's giving more priority to animation than it is to like.
Yes.
I'm pressing in that direction, motherfucker.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a step up story wise from those games.
Okay. Well, that's not hard. Those games are about craziness.
Well, those games also, David Cage is a fucking terrible writer.
Are you talking shit about Omicron the Nomad Soul? I'm not going to have anybody sit in my house and talk shit about Omicron the Nomad Soul. That game has David fucking Bowie in it. I will not have anybody talk shit about it.
He's a great game director. I think he has some great ideas, but the man cannot write to save his own breath or whatever,
Sure.
save his own life. And also he tries to write a lot of American things that take place in America or that are dealing with children in America, and it's very clear he has no idea what goes on in America or how our society is in any way, shape, or form.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, there's jokes about it. People have made the jokes. Whatever, who cares? This is much more competent than that. Is
it scary?
Yeah, I think
scary?
yeah. I mean, it takes a little bit to get into. Like, it really wants you to get to know the characters and kind of get a feel for the characters, and also to make choices that affect the story and the characters of the game to kind of get before it actually starts ramping you into the actual like the scares and the things.
Does it? I mean, like, given the fact that most of the action in that game is like a quick time event.
Yeah.
Does it? I mean, does it have a feeling of like urgency?
Yes.
Okay.
At times.
Okay.
When it wants it.
Okay.
Because I mean, like, basically there are times where your character, you have to make a choice, and you have like mere seconds to make that choice.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't make a choice, you die. If you make the wrong choice, you die. You know, or something.
I mean, but it's also like Heavy Rain in that they've got all those characters in there where if you make the wrong choice and die, it just moves on to another character.
Correct. Okay. So there's like I played through it. I'm about halfway through my second playthrough. Okay. Because I'm trying to do it to where I save everybody. This is very hard. Apparently, it's like the hardest ending in the game to get.
Really? Is it? I mean, has playing it a second time been fulfilling, or do you feel like you're just kind of walking through, like going through the motions because you've already seen? Like, is it? I guess what I'm asking is it that much different the second time around when you're making different choices?
It can be.
Okay.
I mean, it's not super different, especially at the very beginning of it.
So it's like it's not No Time to Explain different.
Yeah.
Where it's now Bubble World or Candy Universe.
No, I mean, like in like one playthrough, and I'll go something, and this is something that you may have done when you did the playthrough, so I don't really consider it a spoiler for our listeners because I'm going to assume that they
You're talking about stuff that happens in the first hour,
the
right?
first beginning of the game.
Okay.
Like there's a scene where one of the characters is dating the former girlfriend of one of the main characters or whatever. And he ends up joking around and scaring a girl that's looking through some binoculars, who sees the ex-boyfriend or girlfriend kind of being really quote unquote friendly with each other.
Right.
And so one choice is you can be like, no, you shouldn't look. No, it's broken. You shouldn't look in there. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. And then the next time you see them, his dialogue options or choice options are just like, hey man, what's going on, to the guy, and the girl's like, hey, how's it going? Very calm, very collected or whatever.
Right.
You may disagree, but they're not like they're just still like, okay, everything's still cool kind of thing.
Yeah.
However, you can also be like, no, you need to look in here, man, and look at what's going on. Then he sees it.
No, we totally did that.
and your options are either I'll dismiss it or fuck you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you can totally go down that route where it's like two characters suddenly who were really good friends in one playthrough totally fucking hate each other in another one.
I guess, I mean, I get all that, right? But I guess what I'm wondering is if that leads them into dramatically different situations, because one of the stumbling blocks that I had, and this is a stumbling block I have, and I don't know about you, for a lot of horror, right? It's a stumbling block that I had really in It Follows.
Yes.
I don't care if dumb teenagers get axe murdered.
Okay.
I mean, if you asked me, I would rather they didn't. But in a lot of cases, like the fact, I have a hard time, and I don't know if the story ends up like giving you any good reason to justify this. I have a hard time with the fact that all of these people are coming back to the place where their friend got killed like the year before with the intention of partying and fucking and stuff. And I'm just like, you guys are a bunch of scumbags.
Well,
like,
and that's actually the thing, is that these are rich, for the most part, white kids.
Right.
Mind you, there's like one black guy, as there is in every horror movie.
Well, and then the Mr. Robot dude is... I'm sorry, I don't know what he's not white.
He's not white. You're right. You're right. But I mean, he's like super rich. His father's a movie director. And blah, blah, blah,
I mean,
blah.
none of this excuses the fact that they're all kind of a bunch
white
of
privileged kids.
They're all. I wouldn't even say I wouldn't even bring race into it. I'd say they just seem like a bunch of frat and sorority idiots.
Yes.
That are like, yeah, we're gonna go bone in the cabin, and it's like.
I would say the weirdest thing is that they're all supposed to be high school students, and.
Poor Hayden Pantier.
And like all of them are like, with the exception of like Hayden and like maybe like two other characters, all of them look like they should be like well into their college years.
Well, it doesn't help that and this has been noted by a bunch of other people, that the other issue that I kind of have with Until Dawn is that Until Dawn is like swerving in and out of the uncanny valley.
Yes, yes, it is.
Second by second basis, like worse than Heavy Rain ever did. Like that Killzone engine is fucking good. Like that's what they use for that. It's good, and it's about as close as I've ever seen to like Quotey Fingers realistic, right? But then they smile, and you're just like, it's a shark. It's a shark wearing a person mask.
It's weird. But no. So I mean, as far as like. I'm kind of through my second playthrough right now because I decided to kind of give it a little bit of a break between playthroughs because I wanted to kind of come back fresh. I will say it's weird because there is no when you beat it once, there is start over completely, and it wipes away all your progress, including unlocks and things like that.
Wait, what?
Or you can choose to start over from a specific episode.
Okay.
And then basically you replay from that point going forward.
Okay.
Which I really liked that aspect of it because there was one when you do the tutorial level. At the very end of the tutorial level, the analysis guy, the Dr. Hill, the actor from Constantine.
Pimp Your Ride. Yeah. The V-dub.
He goes, that was the past. You can't change.
No, do it with his voice.
Oh,
do it in his voice.
I can't do his voice.
Okay, all right.
But he goes, that was all in the past. You can't change that.
Right.
So if you go back and play the tutorial again, when it gets there, he goes, I told you can't change that. Why did you relive that?
Some David Cage bullshit.
Yeah, it was, which I thought was actually kind of nice. I was like, game, you got me. Kind of like, you're being cute.
Yeah.
Which I really liked. But
it sounds. I mean, we're almost kind of in the middle of reviewing this. Do you want to give it like a? Do you have like a? You want to give it like a? Here, I tell you what. Don't give it a stars or anything. Just be like, you think it's worth $60?
No.
Okay.
I do think it's worth like 40 or 50.
Okay,
like,
so if it was like if it's on sale.
Yeah, if it's on sale. If you like horror games, if you like horror movies,
right,
then yes, this game, you need to play it at least once. It's worth a rent. It's worth It's worth a buy if you can get it cheap. It is worth playing once. I think this game is a great first outing, and I would love to see them go, okay, now we know what mistakes we made with the first game. Let's do another game. Maybe not the same story or in the same world, but let's do another game in the same vein and improve on it, because there's a lot of groundwork here that's really good.
Well, I got to say that the one thing that's, drawing me back outside of, because I firmly intend to go back and play that game.
You should.
I didn't because I was all meddled and geared last week, but I fully intend to go back. And one of the reasons that I want to is because I appreciate the fact that it's a horror game that is not a PT ripoff, Five Nights at Freddy's ripoff, or like what was the other one that I was just thinking of? Like an Amnesia ripoff.
Yeah.
It's not a don't look at a thing, and it's not a jump scare simulator, and it's not a PT where it's like the regular world, but it's like a throwback to old 90s horror movies.
It's got, like I said, it's got some really good hooks in it that I think are really good, that aren't explored fully, some that are, some that aren't. I thought Amanda was watching me play the game because she's like, I don't want to play this, but I want to sit down next to you while you play it.
Right.
So for her it was like watching a movie.
Okay.
And I was just making the choices.
Okay.
And her immediate reaction was like, oh, I want this company to take all of these mechanics and make a video game based on the universe of The Thing.
Okay, I could see that.
To where with the whole who likes who trusts who. She's like, oh, that would be amazing. That's a thing that needs to happen. Like, I agree with her.
A thing. I see what you did.
Yeah. I was like, and I agree with her. I think that would actually be really cool. It's like, if it not specifically that, but it opened the door. It could be built on to make something great.
Yeah.
That is different from every other game that's out there.
Yeah.
And I think that this game, maybe even this company, has a better chance of doing that than, say, Quantic Dream.
Okay.
Like, this is the game I wanted Quantic Dream to make, I should say.
Right. I like Heavy Rain had its problems. Like, definitely all of the weird like cybertech investigation glasses and all that bullshit. But like the other characters, not that guy, not the FBI guy that always had that weird accent
the
too.
PA guy.
The private investigator and the woman, and who was the fourth character? Oh, it was the father, right?
Yeah, the father.
I thought that their stuff was okay. I think that a lot of we played not Omicron. We played what was it? Fahrenheit on Sunday streaming, and Fahrenheit goes berserk.
Yes,
like Fahrenheit just goes straight up crazy at one point.
Yes,
Heavy Rain does not. I feel go straight up crazy. It's just
outside of that one character,
a mystery. Yeah. But it's just kind of a mystery, and even that stuff. It's like I could just see that. So I don't know. A lot of people seem to hate on David Cage, but I'm just like, I don't know.
I'll admit, I actually do think Beyond Two Souls is probably the best game he's made.
I forgot he made that
Ellen
too.
Page Simulator 2014.
Yep.
Or 2013 or whatever year the game was released.
I'm going to go back to the review that we did for Beyond Two Souls. Fun fact, Beyond Two Souls was the very first Dojo episode that didn't have me on it. It was granted Jason. And because my back hurt, so I couldn't sit up straight. But I could hear them because I was laying downstairs. I'd hurt my back, and I could hear them. And every so often, I would just be like, I'd have to ow. I'd have to clump up the stairs, just be like, hit R2, from outside of the room, because they would just be like, I could hear them just be like, what are we supposed to? I don't know what we're supposed to do. And I'm like, all right.
But this is the game that I felt that I wanted them to make. And it's not to say they make bad games, because I actually do like Beyond Two Souls and Heavy Rain a lot.
I think they're okay. I think that's the thing is that I honestly feel, and we're going to get into this with one of the news stories that we got this week. I honestly feel okay, let me use this as a segue transition, right?
Sure.
I was reading Metacritic user reviews for Metal Gear Solid 5 the other day. Because you know what? I like to go to Metacritic even when I'm playing a game that I like sometimes.
Yeah.
And go find, or a lot of times I'll do this for a movie, and just look for whatever the lowest review is.
I do that sometimes.
And read it just to be like, okay, let me see what you are pointing out as bad things and what are good things. Because I honestly feel like even if you give a game a high score, I honestly feel like it is It is something that other reviewers don't do, and that I always wanted to do. And it was one of the reasons that I structured my reviews the way that I did.
Yeah.
Which folks, I know I'm talking about reviews. I do want to bring them back. That I like to tell people, even in a game that I like, what the stumbling blocks are.
Yeah.
Because I believe that you can have a 4 to 5 star game.
Yeah.
That still has problems, because there is no such thing as a perfect game. It's more to me about what was my experience like as far as stars go.
Yeah.
But like, so there are people out there who are giving Metal Gear Solid 5 in the user reviews on Metacritic, which I realize is what it is, a 0.
Yes.
Like, fuck you, Konami, for microtransactions, and this game doesn't have enough cutscenes. There was one review that was in Metacritic where the guy didn't even play all the way through the prologue. It was just like, this is the worst game I've ever played. Fuck this game. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be a situation where every game is either 10 out of 10 or 0.
Yeah.
Like, Heavy Rain to me is a solid, like, 6 out of 10, right?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, man, I don't feel bad that I played that. I'll probably never play it again, but...
And if I were to rate Until Dawn, it would probably be a little bit above that, probably a 7 or an 8.
Okay.
And one of the other things I like about it is when you beat the game, it does like these DVD-style extra bonus features, like behind-the-scenes stuff, that is really actually cool.
Oh, cool.
I really like the interviews with the cast and stuff like that, and they even go into like a little documentary about something about the game, like the history behind something that they do in the game, that I don't want to go into because it might be a spoiler.
Sure.
But I just thought it was like really well done and stuff like that. Also, to find out that there's a character that shows up in the later half of the game that's actually one of the writers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Which I thought was kind of cool because he has a face that works for the character that he plays.
Oh, okay. Excellent. Well, before we get into the news, I was going to want to talk about Metal Gear, but I don't know if anybody wants to hear me talk about Metal Gear anymore.
Yeah. You're going to talk about how I told you how to do something and I've never played the game before?
Yeah, I didn't know what that was.
You said just like, man, I can't figure out why this is happening. I was like, what? You need to do this. And you're like, what? And I was like, you need to do this.
Yeah.
And you're like, have you been playing the game? I was like, nope.
Yep, it was awesome.
I've listened to enough podcasts where people talking about
I'll tell. I mean, this isn't a spoiler for the game or anything. It's like, so when you get seen, or like what you do in that game, like the soldiers react to it.
Yes.
So if you're shooting everybody in the head with tranquilizer darts, they all start wearing helmets.
Yes.
And if you just move then to shooting them in body with tranquilizer darts, they all start wearing body armor. And if you tend to do all your stuff at night, they start putting on night vision goggles so they can just see you in the dark. Which when you get to Africa is a pain in the ass because there's no hills to hide behind in Africa. It's just big open plains. Or a lot of it is big open plains. Well, the thing is that I've been playing that game, like there was like, at least in the first 3 or 4 hours that I was playing the game, like I was just like, there were a few times where I was like, fuck it, everybody dies. Like, I'm tired of sneaking. You're all going to die. Bring in the helicopter. This is no longer a sneaking mission. Give me a heavy machine gun. I'm going to get in a robot and start blowing shit up. And everybody dies. But there's these outer ops missions that you can send your guys out on.
Yes.
And there's these little icons, and it's like one of them's a little helmet, one of them's a little night or a little moon, which is night vision goggles. And I was just sending them out on these things to get resources, but you could totally send them and then get rid of the helmets in the area, right?
Yes.
I was like,
it disrupts their supply lines.
Goddamn. So here's the deal. I just want to take. I mean, because I might actually do a full review for Metal Gear. I might try to use that as a springboard to get back into reviews for big game season, right? But I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying what I'm playing of it so far. Like, I think it's a highly enjoyable game. I think it's doing a lot of really cool stuff that other games don't do, which is traditionally a thing that I see in a lot of Metal Gear games.
Yes.
Like Snake Eater had the whole camo system and the food system and all that stuff. You didn't see games that were doing that, right?
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 4 had the psych system that was meh, but Metal Gear Solid 4 I felt like was almost interesting because of just the amount of movies and cinematics and the stuff. But Metal Gear Solid 4 is just a giant fan service project anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Peace Walker introduced a lot of things that are in this game. There are some things though that are bothering me about it. Like, I mean, I keep looking at the internet and everybody's like, 10 out of 10, best game ever, greatest game of all time. And it may very well end up being my game of the year, but like, the everybody knows the game. There's at least a map that's in Afghanistan. There's a map that's in South Africa as well. I'm sorry if that's a spoiler to you, but those have been in like pre-release trailers and stuff like that. And that doesn't really tell you anything about the actual game. But like in Afghanistan, right? You've got your main missions and you got your sub missions. It's realistically modeled where there's like 1,000 meters between, like a kilometer between two of the things, and your choices for going are like D-horse or a Jeep or like get on a helicopter, but getting on a helicopter is like this big load, and then you got to go and you got to reload and you got to get back off the helicopter. So I kind of wish that there was a faster quick travel system. And I really, even though you can skip it, I do kind of get tired of seeing everybody, the credits happen at the beginning of each mission. Like each mission starts with a beginning credit scenes like Asura's Wrath, except that there are 50 missions, and every time you replay them, like, it kind of stops the game to show you Snake's face and give you this weird like title, not a title sequence, but just like credits over landing. And I appreciate the fact that these helicopters and shit are flying around, but there's a lot of the game, especially when you're flying to an area, that just feels like wasted time. Where you're just like, boop, ba-doop, doop, doop. I'm just waiting for this to land.
I actually heard about this. You know what my immediate thought was?
What's that?
That at some point Kojima went, gonna take my name off the box, you motherfuckers. I'm putting my name after every fucking mission in the game. Deal with that.
Not just at the if I'm remembering this correctly, and I'm very sleep deprived and just full of Red Bull. So correct, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but I think that like produced and directed by Hideo Kojima is the last thing that comes up when you jump out of the helicopter in the little title sequence. And then there's an end credit sequence that I'm pretty sure I always skip it, but I'm pretty sure if you sit there and let it run, that his fucking name is the last one.
I'm sure he got wind that they were gonna pull the Hideo Kojima game from off the box. He got wind of it and he went, "Oh, I'm putting my name in every level so everyone fucking knows." Yeah, we're gonna get to some of that as well. But like, I tell you what, John, there is the thing that is the most. There's a lot of this game that seems to me like it was like there's a lot of parts of this game that seem to me like that seem like they're part of a weird political infighting between Kojima's desire to make a certain type of game and Konami's budget or internal politics or things like that. And I feel like at the end of the day, it's real fun to speculate about, like, he put his name on front. But at the end of the day, I got to look at it. Like, and the game, I feel like, suffers because of it, because there's no reason for that shit. You should just, like, I'm going to be honest. I haven't appear on the ground. I haven't played it, so I don't know. I'm just joking around. Like, I don't think he actually did that. In all honesty, I think it's probably a thing of, like, episodic is kind of probably pretty cool. So what if we did this thing where after each mission, we played it like it's an episode of a longer arcing story? Like, in my mind, I could see that. I mean, that would totally work in a level-driven game, but I don't think it works in an open-world game. Yeah. Because it's just weird. And, I mean, the fact that, I don't know. Maybe eventually there's going to be a way to just maybe there's a quick travel, and I just don't know where it is. Yeah, well, apparently no one knows where it is, because I've heard that complaint a lot. Anyway, but I'm having a fair amount of fun with it. I will honestly say, though, you know how I played through 3 and 4 and Peace Walker, or the run up to this? That was a mistake, because I really miss the cutscenes. Like playing through those games, especially 4, because 4 was the last one that I played before I started. Like, the amount of cutscenes in there was a bit much, right? But it's like they went the opposite direction here, and it's just like very few, very sparse cutscenes. And for a franchise whose kind of whole appeal to me has been based on these cinematic cutscenes and this weird-ass story, right? Yeah. Not having those just makes it feel like a very different game. In all honesty, it almost feels like, outside of a few weird touches, it almost feels like if you had told me that this was the first game that Hideo Kojima didn't direct, like if it came out that he was like the producer, but he didn't actually do the day-to-day directing of the game, I could believe it. Okay. Because it just, Kojima over the years has just done his own thing to the point where there's just such a style of his type of game, right? And this is such a departure that while it is very fun, and I'm tempted to just be like, and that's our podcast for the week because I'm going to go back to play it, I do miss... I don't know. I honestly feel like whatever went on between him and Konami, that we have all suffered a little bit in the form of this game. But anyway, enough of that. Let's jump into the news. I'm ready. Are you ready? I'm ready. Are you ready? I'm ready. All right. I'm not ready. You're not? I'm ready. Well, get ready, motherfucker. Come on. I asked you 3 times. I also answered before you even asked. Yeah. Our first story this week is that... so this is just kind of a note, but whenever there's Star Wars
news, for some reason, John, it always ends up being the first thing that I talk about. I'm not even especially like that. I mean, I got all these Disney Infinity motherfuckers over here, but so you know the new trailer for Star Wars?
Yes.
Where the big Star Destroyers like crashed on the planet, right?
I did not watch that.
Oh, you didn't watch that one?
Spoilers, man.
Sorry. Oh,
I'm joking.
motherfucker.
I haven't watched it, but
well, you're looking at it right here.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's going to be the Battle of Jakku, which is the level that you get for pre-ordering Star Wars Battlefront, and they released a couple of concept art designs or concept art screenshots from it. Apparently, this is going to be like this is going to tie directly into the movie by showing you where all this wreckage came from.
Okay.
It's going to be the fight that actually does that.
Okay.
I find that to be really interesting. I don't know. When was the last time that we had a game that directly tied into the plot, whether it was in a tertiary way of a movie? Like, licensed games are so few and far between these days, right? Or
Tron 2?
Tron 2.0? No, that was the
No.
game.
The actual Tron Evolution or whatever the heck
Legacy or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
I feel like there's got to have been one after that, but I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting. I do think that I don't know. Are you interested in Battlefront?
I mean, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no interest in. I've never really liked Battlefield or anything like that. So
Okay.
not for
mean,
me.
I can say that I'm like.
I imagine Jason Murphy is salivating at the gums.
Oh, yes.
To get his hands on this.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So I don't know. It looks. I mean, the screenshot or these aren't screenshots. The concept art that they released looks interesting, but I'm almost to the point now. I'm starting to regret actually putting this as my first story because basically EA just released 2 paintings. And now I'm talking about what they mean to a video game without any real. I'll tell you what, why don't we move on to something that does have a direct effect about a video game?
All right.
And that is the opening cinematic for Halo 5 Guardians. Now, John, we've talked about Halo 5 before.
Yes, we have.
We talked about it in our E3 thing. In fact, people were a little bit upset with me for not knowing everything about Halo when we did that.
Or me for the fact that I've actually played all the Halo games.
Right.
Though I haven't beaten 4. Only one I haven't beaten yet.
I have to tell you this right now. This trailer is making me more excited for Halo 5 than any of the other things that they've shown me.
Including playing the beta?
Fuck yes. I mean, the beta... Well, when we played the beta, was there... See, when we played the beta, they didn't have any of the vehicle levels, like the big vehicle levels, right?
No, it was just...
I'm actually really interested in playing whatever that mode is that they've got where they have the
creeps or whatever.
Computer-controlled enemies in between the two of you, right? But no, I mean, as far as single player goes, this is, to me, 10 times better than the video that they showed at E3 where it was all the squad, like it was a gameplay, right?
Yeah.
Because this tells me it's like, here's some people with their they actually have their helmets off and they look like people, and this is what they're doing. And
here's Nathan Fillion.
Which instantly bumps it up by like 5 points. And like they're quipping back and forth and they're saying stuff to each other.
Nathan Fillion and Luke Cage.
Damn, that's a Captain Mal and Luke. Okay, so Captain Mal and Luke Cage walk into a bar. No, and then more than any of the rest of this, these are like Phase 4 Spartans or whatever.
Yeah.
They jump out of this fucking airplane or spaceship and
whatever.
And proceed for like, what is it, about 2 minutes of just a cinematic ass-kicking birthday party of epic proportions.
And if I'm not mistaken, this is Blur Studios, right, that made the cinematic, right?
I don't know, but anytime,
I mean, that's who it usually is.
Anytime there's a cinematic that looks this awesome, my brain immediately goes, it's got to be Blur, right?
Yeah. I want to say it is, because, I mean, it has been in every other instance.
Okay, well, but this cinematic is awesome.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
And it's like it's interesting because just the way the camera is set up, it's kind of like a single shot. Like you would almost like it reminds me of like that single shot in Avengers, right?
Yeah.
Where they're doing something, except that it goes on way longer than that.
I literally expected the Hulk to show up at one point.
Right. And it's like these 4, and they just jump down, and the Covenant's there. Yeah, fuck you, Covenant. We're just blowing you up. And I'm glad to see I'm not sure. I can't remember the Halo 4 cutscenes or promotional material. I'm glad to kind of see some Halo promotional material where it's not Master Chief doing all the ass kicking, where it's just a bunch of people, and these guys are a squad. They work together, and they're just blowing shit up and blowing it up and blowing it up and blowing it up. And
Yeah.
they don't stop blowing it up. Your thoughts?
I think it looks good.
Yeah,
like it looks great. I mean, it's. Here's the thing. I bought the Master Chief collection, and I also played Halo 4 when it came out, and the cutscenes and the stuff like that are all always top notch for this stuff, and I love that stuff. But I mean, that also like I almost end up liking the cutscenes more than I like the game.
If that was like if in some cases I feel like it's weird. Like if 343 and Microsoft, instead of putting money into like Nightfall or something like that, basically were able to get something that was maybe like 70%. You know what? If this sounds like a really weird thing to say, if 343 Studios and Microsoft ripped off Rooster Teeth and basically made themselves with the assets they already have for this game a Halo episodic TV show that was all CG like this, right? I'd watch the shit out of that show. I mean, obviously that's not feasible in the amount of quality that you're seeing in this one particular cutscene because it's all blur and shit. But, yep, I think it looks pretty freaking incredible.
Yeah, no, it's great.
The fact that it has. Well, no, I'm not going to go into that. Next up, so we've got a trio of trailers this week. Next up is last week we talked about the cinematic trailer or the story trailer, I guess, for Lawbreakers, where the moon is blowed up and that made gravity all weird, and now there's cartels and blah 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 blah. But finally at PAX we are seeing the first actual gameplay trailer for Cliffy B's next game, Lawbreakers. Lawbreakers? Is that what it was called?
Yeah, Lawbreakers.
Okay. And this shows us. I mean, this is a 5-on-5 multiplayer action game, and this is showing us 4 different characters. Kind of an assassin, and then there's like a soldier and like a jetpack person, and then like a super heavy guy. But each one of these characters has something different that I feel like is interesting. And last week, Nick was asking me, he was like, you know, do you really care what this is? It's just like a first-person shooter. And I'm like, yeah, but Cliffy B, like, he's got some ideas and shit, right?
Yeah.
So let's run down the list here. The first,
I mean, that's what it says on his business card. He's got some ideas and shit.
Yeah, that's, you know, I'm Cliffy B. I have ideas and shit. So the first person they showed was, what was the name? Was it Kitsune or?
Yeah.
Who has like starts off with like twin knives, or you know what? I don't need to just run this down like one piece at a time, like it's E3 trailer. So one character has like a grapple.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if it's only in specific places or whatever, but seems really interesting. The soldier character that they show at one point, basically, I mean, I can't tell if it's going to be like a single button, but like shoots his gun behind his head. That to me
it was pretty badass.
That is a game changer right there all on its own, because, you know, we played Black Ops and it was like, I'm always getting shot from behind.
Yeah.
Now if you think there's somebody behind you, you could just like, what? Blind fire behind you.
Yeah, that'd actually be pretty cool.
One of the characters has like a rocket pack, and then this last character, Kronos the Titan, has like a rocket launcher and some electricity powers and stuff. But this looks cool, and what I really like about this trailer that separates it from like what was that free to play one that Splash Damage made just recently?
Oh God, I can't remember. Yeah,
you guys know what I'm talking about.
Dirty Bomb.
Dirty Bomb. Yeah,
No.
I think that's what it was. Was that?
I think.
Yeah. Okay. What I think is what definitely sets us apart is that like, kind of like Overstrike, is it looks like they've got some cool shit going on in here that is not just, you know, aim fire, kill streak, call in a strike, right?
Yeah.
It's something that I've bitched about for a long time, which is that I feel like first-person shooters, once Call of Duty 4 happened, have basically just been being Call of Duty 4 over and over and over again.
Okay, I can see that.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's
There's
just
a place
I want
for
to see the next thing, right?
Yeah.
And this looks like it has the potential to be really interesting, especially with the different classes. So
I agree.
I don't know. Are you? I mean, do you a fan of Gears of War? Are you a fan of Even any interest in something like that? I mean,
I don't know. Like for me, like I like Gears of War because of the story, and also Gears of War was more something me and my roommate played a lot.
Okay.
So it was more of a social playing.
okay.
So this one being a 5-on-5.
It's also weird that it's so few people, right?
Yeah.
That it's only 5-on-5. I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like that's 5
Well,
players is more of like a horde mode.
Well, I mean, even Gears of War was 4-on-4.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I mean, it's it's not unheard. 5-on-5 is one more than that. But I mean, it's I don't know. Like I again, multiplayer is something that I'm not immediately drawn to
Sure.
for a game.
Sure.
Like games that are these games are always going to be multiplayer. Like Evolve. Like I really thought I was going to get into that and
Didn't work.
Couldn't.
After we played the dojo for it, I was just kind of like, I don't really have any interest in playing this anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
Well, and also, I mean, going back to Star Wars Battlefront.
Right.
It's online only. There's no story campaign.
Yeah.
That immediately went, okay, I no longer care.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that I feel like, I don't know, let's see, there's a part of me that feels like over the last 10 to 15 years that we've seen so much of the multiplayer aspect of video games like roll in. I mean, to the point where Metal Gear has has 2 online components.
Yeah.
The FOB invasion like Dark Souls, and then later on just straight up multiplayer matches in Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Those of us that are really into a single player story, like the reason that Halo trailer was so much more effective to me than any of the gameplay trailers, or like the one that they had that Gamescom that was like the esports one.
Yeah.
Is that I like story. Like that's what draws me into video games.
Yeah.
Is that I like a game when it has a story more than anything else. And over the last 5 to 10 years, I feel like companies have seen that they can get away with creating a multiplayer framework in lieu of a story to the point where, I'm on your side with that one. And I don't know.
And again, that's not saying multiplayer is bad. I like a good multiplayer, but my main form of buying a game is story. Outside of Rock Band.
After we played both Black Ops and Street Fighter Online, like I just don't get excited about beating somebody in an online game. Like more often than not, I lose, and when I win, I just don't really care about it all that much. Like I'd much rather play Pillars of Eternity than a MOBA, even though I've played a few MOBAs and they seem all right. Like I'd rather play co-op, I guess, than any form of adversarial multiplayer because I just don't get anything out of it. Like it's so weird. I don't know. Anyway, enough about that. Or unless do you have anything else?
No.
I almost feel like we're gonna this trailer is gonna be a speed bump. So a new Soma trailer came out, and it's basically just like looking at a bunch of environments.
It continues to tell us absolutely nothing.
It's a voiceover of this girl talking about like buildings, and and then you've got this like super high resolution kind of BioShocky looking broken down undersea thing. It's very pretty, but nothing happens. It doesn't really tell us anything about the game.
Yeah, you don't see any other people. You don't see anything about it other than the environments.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm interested in playing it. This trailer though does very little.
I'm going to be honest. All the trailers for this game have done nothing for me.
Yeah,
because I mean, the only other trailer I've seen made it look like it's the exact same game mechanics from Amnesia.
Amnesia, but underwater.
But underwater. So I'm kind of.
I don't think. I mean, that company got such a slam dunk. I can't remember the name of Frictional. Is that?
Yeah,
is that
something like that.
That they actually. Yeah, I don't know if you remember, but they outsourced Amnesia 2 to the God, the people who made Dear Esther and Everybody's Gone to the Rapture.
Yeah.
So I would think that they've been working on this since then. I hope it's more than just Amnesia Underwater. It better goddamn be more than just Amnesia Underwater. Like, if that's the case, why even bother?
Yeah.
Just remaking the exact same game. All right. So next up we got, I know that people were like, Jeff, you're going to talk about Metal Gear, and yes, that's true. But I wish got a couple of Metal Gear stories. One of them, let's see, both of them shitty and going to piss people off.
All right.
First up, I don't know if you know this, but like the stories or the servers for Metal Gear are just ballsed up, right?
I figured they would be.
Oh, they're stupid shit. But I mean, like we're recording this 2 days after launch.
Yeah.
Right. I managed to log on one time, but they're just fucked. And honestly, this is something that I feel like is really important because when I did get connected to the server, I disconnected manually from the server because what would happen was every time you brought up like your iDroid or you were in the helicopter and you were going to a mission, there would be a lag.
Yeah, I'd actually heard about this.
Hit the server, and it was just like, what the fuck? This is infuriating.
Yeah.
I already have to wait for this thing to fucking land, but now I have to wait 3 minutes for the fucking iDroid to come up.
Well, it wasn't even like just that. Like, what was it? I was listening to one of the podcasts I listened to, and they were talking about how that they actually purposefully boot up offline.
Yeah.
Because like just loading the map takes longer when connected than it does offline.
Yes. And at this point, I have no idea what it's doing. Like why it would be doing anything because it's not loading like at intervals. It seems to be loading like when you load up your iDroid. Maybe it's trying to get maybe it's trying to actually, you know what? I bet I know what it is that when you pull up your iDroid, you get access to the you can send your teams out on missions. And one of the tabs for those missions are online missions. So I'd be willing to bet that it's trying to find those when you load it up. Anyway, so right now it appears that the Xbox versions are going to take longer to fix than the PlayStation versions, at least according to Konami. Yeah, because they're having a lot more difficulty with that. I can't tell if this is just only in Japan, but yeah, I honestly think that when we get done with this, when all of this shit gets fixed, and when we're looking back on Metal Gear Solid 5 a year later, like, let me put it this way. I can play Metal Gear Solid 3 start to finish. I've got the collector's or the subsistence version right on the HD collection. I don't have to worry about DLC or connecting to a server or any of that horse shit. I can play every other game in that entire series without ever having to worry about, well, the game is lagged out because some jackass at Konami wants it to always be online to try to get more money out of you. Like last week we talked about that FOB shit.
Yeah.
Like that's now that I think about it more and more, and now that you told me about the fact that those submissions to get the helmets off dudes, that's fucked up because you could only build one of those bases for free, and then Konami wants money to do any of the rest of it. And like they'd say, like, oh, well, you can get this money by getting online. Well, you can't do it when the servers are down. And not only that, but you get like 15 mother base points a day, and it takes like 1,100 to build the cheapest base in the game. Like, fuck you guys. And the thing is that you only have 2 teams that you can send out to get resources, and those same teams you could send. You have like 5 teams, but you can only send out 2 at a time unless you build more forward operating bases.
Yeah.
So it's actually going to really impact just, you know what it okay, so what it boils down to, I'm going to back up for a second and just real briefly run this down because it's kind of connected to the story. Konami is basically asking you at the end of the day to pay money to speed up your game experience.
Yes.
Because there's resources and things that you need and that you want to do from sending out these teams. They give you 5 teams. They're all sitting there, but you can only send out 2 at a time. You got a whole roster of 60 attack people that you can load out and send out at one time. If you were to pay to get more forward operating bases, you could send them all out, and then would all come back with a huge pile of resources, which means that you could buy stuff faster, you could get yourself out faster. The game is totally playable without that, but dude, fuck that, man. It's a 60. I mean, like, I don't get this pissed off about other games. I think because, like, they haven't done this in a Dark Souls game yet, or like a BioShock game, or I mean, I guess like one of the other franchises that I really, really care about. But like, god damn, that's such it's so shitty, so shitty. Anyway,
Yeah, I agree.
and the fact that the servers are all down, so you can't even get this bullshit. I don't know. Maybe
I will say that's been something that's happened a lot lately. Games with some type of online component, and the online component being down immediately upon launch.
The good thing I will say about this is that when I load up the game, it loads up and it goes, I can't connect to the servers like really quickly, and then it's just like, boom, let's play it offline. But there's some kind of like data import from Ground Zeroes that I can't do, even though I've got data from Ground Zeroes. And it sucks. It just makes for a shitty experience. But I'll tell you what else makes me even more upset.
More upsetting things?
About Metal Gear.
Ooh.
So, I haven't gotten to the end of Metal Gear yet.
No.
But apparently when you get to the end of the game, there are some lingering questions that aren't entirely answered or sussed out inside of the game, which is very frustrating because Peace Walker didn't introduce a shitload more questions into that franchise, and 4, for all of its goddamn cutscenes, wrapped up a lot of the the hanging threads in a nice, neat knot.
Yeah.
Apparently, if you buy the collector's edition of Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain, it comes with a Blu-ray that has the cut episode 51 that answers a bunch of questions about what happened at the end of the game. This is incredibly crappy. Like, this is Asura's Wrath level crappy. Especially considering that if it's on the Blu-ray, it probably means that it's not going to be released as it shouldn't be released as DLC. It should not be released as paid DLC. That's just the same shit that we all got on Capcom about Asura's Wrath, about keeping the main ending back until, you pay for it.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. It's very, very frustrating with this to know that the game, I'm playing the game and reading this story. It's like, I know that there's stuff that should have been in here that is not in this game. And even if it's just, and I'd be willing to bet that that this isn't the only thing that's been cut out of it. I don't know. What? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm of a weird because I've seen it done. Well, we've seen it done poorly, which is Asura's Wrath, where they deliberately held off the ending of a game until you bought the DLC.
Right.
And the ending that's there in the game doesn't feel complete. It doesn't feel like a good ending. It's like, oh, well, there's more, but you have to buy the DLC. Having said that, I've also seen it in place, like, for example, Alan Wake.
Yeah.
When the game first came out, it tells a complete story with a beginning, middle, and end.
Sure.
But then they came out and go, oh, yeah, here's these 3 DLC episodes that actually continue the story further, that answer some things.
Yeah.
And they do answer some things, or they do bring up stuff that you might have thought was resolved, but maybe not. So
right.
But it did more to set up, like, there's more to we're going to do a sequel at some point.
Yeah.
It was more of that, but it was done really well because I didn't feel like when I played the game from beginning to end, I'm okay. Without that DLC, I was like, okay, I got a full game experience, and it was a good ending. I like the ending.
Right.
Oh, there's more. Cool. Oh, wow, there's a lot of stuff that they bring in that is wrapped up that wasn't wrapped in the other game that I figured they would leave for a sequel.
Right.
And there's some stuff that's brought up that's brand new that leads doors for another, for an actual sequel.
Sure.
That I'm okay with.
Yeah.
So my question is more of, is this an Asura's Wrath situation, or is this that or is it somewhere in between?
I think that a lot of this comes from the fact that I feel like Metal Gear is unique in that it's the only franchise that I know of that's been a single creator run franchise that has had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the original 1, 2. At least 7 games, 8 with Phantom Pain, 9 if you count Ground Zeroes as its own game. And when you look at the game, starting with 3 and going all the way to 4, by the time they got to the end of 4, there was a through line. There was a story. And
yeah.
It starts at 3, and every one of those games in the chronological order is another chapter in that story that leads up to 4. This is one of the things I was afraid of, one of the reasons that I was kind of like, I don't even know if I really want this game to be made. I'm glad that Phantom Pain exists. I like me some Metal Gear, right? But shoving that in between Peace Walker and Metal Gear 1 and then not finishing it means that what was like a full thing, not a...
I guess I get what you're saying.
Yeah, like it was a complete package before.
Yeah.
Peace Walker... bookended to the beginning of Metal Gear 1, Metal Gear 2, Metal Gear Solid, Solid 2, and then 3 at the very beginning, and then Peace Walker, and then Portable Ops. It was all a complete story. And by 4, where they're talking about this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing, like, yeah, they're not talking about some of the stuff in Peace Walker, but for the most part, they're wrapping up this big story. Whereas here, if you're introducing new bullshit, you're fucking up my circle, man. You're fucking up my completed beginning, middle, end saga.
Time is no longer a flat circle. It's now a hilled
it's
valley.
Wibbly wobbly,
timey wimey.
Well, especially if the reason that this is fucking everything up is because of some bullshit dispute between Konami and Kojima. I don't care. I want Metal Gear to be a good game.
Okay, anyway. All right. No, I get it. I get why you're upset.
All right.
Let's move on to some non-Metal Gear stuff.
Yes, please. Yes, we got to keep. I spent too much time talking about Metal Gear. All right. This is fascinating.
Okay.
So, you know the YouTube channel Machinima?
Yes.
Do you remember like a year ago where Machinima was being like investigated by the FTC because Microsoft paid them, and then they shuffled money down to some of their partners to make videos exclusively on the Xbox One and to not highlight any of like the flaws or anything. It was one of those standard like horrible YouTube agreements where they're like, you can't tell anybody that you're being paid, and you're going to play everything on the Xbox One, and you're going to talk about how awesome the Xbox One is, and you're going to get a bunch of extra money for this.
Yeah.
Do you remember any of this?
I do not, but
okay.
I believe it.
Okay. I think that we reported like it was a line item, right? Well, the FTC and Machinima have now come to a conclusion because basically the crux here, and I'm not a lawyer, so I can't get into the details, right? Is that they were paid endorsements that were not labeled as such, right? That by keeping all of this secret, that you were essentially paying these people to endorse a product without telling other people that it was a fucking commercial, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, is that whenever you're supposed to say, hey, I'm reviewing this thing, I got it for free, or I am being paid by, it's basically just, it's ethics in journalism.
Right. Well, actually,
it's ethics.
Don't ever use that
sorry.
phrase.
I realized as soon as I said it was a bad phrase. But I mean, it's basic ethics.
Yeah.
It's basic ethics.
That's the second time you did that.
Yeah. It's just one of those things where you want to say, hey, so that I can be totally upfront, because this could potentially, in some people's eyes, cause whatever my review is. I need to reveal this up front so that you can look at it and go, oh, well, it's obvious this person loves this game because he got it for free. I
honestly think that, the way that this story is worded, it sounds like this is like you're breaking, maybe, I don't know if it's a law or if it's just something with the FTC where you have to disclose that you got paid to do this, right? You have to disclose if you signed a contract, and they didn't, and they kept it secret. And they had apparently 2 rounds of this. Like the first round was like 5 creators, and like it was for I don't think it's all Xbox, right? But then the second one is like a couple hundred of their creators who got kickbacks for doing this stuff. Well, so what they've actually done in this settlement, because there's a settlement now. There was a possibility that Machinima might end up owing the FTC like $3 million in fines, right? If they brought them, if they nailed them to the wall for this, but they didn't. What they're doing actually is requiring that Machinima go through and make sure that everybody is disclosing exactly what they're doing, like in thumbnails and titles and things like that, that like there's no way that you would think that this was not an endorsement, right, if it's an endorsement. The other thing is apparently the FTC can now come in and look over Machinima's shoulder and audit them whenever they want to for 20 years. So they have to keep like detailed records about any amount of money that's coming in from third party sources, and meticulous records about where that's going to, and making sure that everybody is disclosing everything all the time. And I think that's great.
Yes.
I think that is freaking awesome because because it opens the door to me getting money to be able to be like, I'm getting paid.
Well, it's also, what is it? There was another story a little while back, and I think you did cover it, where it was kind of a thing where a bunch of YouTubers kind of were opening themselves up to some legal thing because they were basically doing videos like, oh my god, this game, it's so fun, it's so great, and then it turns out all those YouTubers actually had like financial stake in the game.
Oh,
but it was like a game that's on early access. And it was just but it was like really, and what it turned out is that like,
I actually watched a video about that.
Yeah.
About Project Cars, about the.
Okay, well, it wasn't Project
somebody posted
Cars,
it last
but-
week about when I was talking with Nick about, or no.
it was it was a.
I think it was when you and I were talking about the Fig. Did we talk about that?
Yeah, we talked about Fig.
It might have been that where we talked about the idea of being an investor, right?
Yeah,
as opposed to,
but it was basically they helped. Not only do they actually. They basically were contracted by, like, if you look at the credits of the game,
right.
like those people who were publicly going, oh, like, this is a fun game. Oh, my God, you people should go buy it because it's fun.
Right.
It turns out they were also, like, contracted by the developer to offer, not only suggestions on how to make changes to the game, but were also on the payroll of the company. And then it was just like,
in all honesty,
entering into a gray area that you might not want to be in.
Okay, so you got to make sure that we don't use this phrase one more time, or else Beetlejuice comes out. But like, in all honesty, the whole argument about ethics in journalism, I feel like this is the exact place where this shit should be done. Because here's the thing: if you get paid by a company and you do not and you don't disclose that, and you come onto your YouTube channel and go, "Oh my God." Pick Soma, right?
Yeah.
Here's an early access build of Soma. My God, this game is really great. Blah 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 blah. Right?
Yeah.
People have to know that. You have to tell them that you got paid for that, and you probably shouldn't be giving an opinion about it, because most of the time people will recuse themselves from like forming a. It's such a difficult minefield.
Let's go to something a little bit more. I'm going to give an example here. And this is my personal view. When we on Super Awesome Video Game Show, we play a lot of early access and beta games and things like that. And there is at least one game that I was actually given a code for, which the opening line of the video is, I contacted this company. And they gave me a code for Road Redemption. This game's fucking awesome. We need to play it.
I see. Here's the thing: is that I know that some people disagree with me, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that getting the game to evaluate counts as this same sort of thing.
I know it doesn't.
I think there might have been one or two Indie Fridays where I didn't tell people that, like, I think I got hacked.
Well, if you can refer to it as like a review cop, you can that's as a reviewer thing. Most people assume you get a lot of your games for free, which is actually not true.
No, no.
But no. My point is like, from my point of view, especially for something that's early access and not fully out,
right?
It's one of those things, especially when it's a game that I really fall in love with, that I start playing.
Mm-hmm.
If I got it for free, I want people to know that I got it for free, just in case there's the off chance that they go, I think he likes it because he got it for free.
Right.
Which in most cases is not the case, because Road Redemption is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that even that is kind of a minor thing.
Right.
But still, I feel like that's something I need to.
It should be very transparent.
Yeah.
You should not find out that YouTuber X got $5,000 from their channel to play all their games on. That shouldn't be a thing that you find out. It should be a thing that is easy for you to see. Like, people don't have to disclose amounts, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like they should be able to say, I am playing this on, like, if
disclaimer, I am playing Mad Max, the video game, on the Xbox One because I have been paid to exclusively play this game on the Xbox One.
Right.
And that
I feel like that information should be available somewhere.
Yeah.
Because their whole. That's the other thing that makes this really difficult, is that being on the other side of this particular argument, I can tell you guys right now, it is a bitch to make money on the internet these days.
Yes, it is.
Like, way harder, especially for even Rage Select. Like, we have at least 1,000 hardcore fans for just about every video, right?
Yes.
It is hard to make money with that many people. Like, you don't have the PewDiePie levels of just craziness to be able to pull in advertising revenue the way that he can, right?
Or if you're not going to say I was paid specifically to do this, you can say, if you were paid by Microsoft, you say, disclaimer, this playthrough is fully endorsed by Microsoft.
Yeah. Well, that's enough of that. I just think it's interesting that 20 years, like, that's weird that Machinima is going to be under the FTC's thumb until the year fucking 2035.
Yeah.
When I'm 57 years old.
FTC don't play.
No, apparently not. Well, I'll tell you who does play. No, I'll tell you who else don't play. There you go. The internet don't play.
Oh.
And
What don't they play?
Of being a person who has been off of social media, this may be a thing that people have been talking about, but I have been blissfully not on Facebook. I remember what it's like to be bored again. That's what I love about not being on the internet. Is like,
but with all the Metal Gear you've been playing.
Well, the Metal Gear has been a whole other thing, but like on just a day-to-day basis, I'm just like, well, I don't know, whatever. Jimmy the Rat Fallon. No, Jimmy Fallon. Have you seen this?
You mean Jimmy Kimmel?
Kimmel. Sorry, not Fallon. Yeah, Kimmel.
I was going to say Fallon didn't do anything.
Yeah, Kimmel. Did you know about all this?
I do know some of it.
Okay. So apparently,
I haven't watched any of the clips or anything like that are available. I know of it.
So last week, 2 weeks ago, YouTube launched their gaming streaming channel.
Yes.
Right? Jimmy Fallon comes on his show and he's like, Kimmel. Sorry. God damn. This is After Dawn all over again. And he's like, hey, did you hear about this? They just launched this channel, and apparently people are watching other people play video games. This is my Jimmy Kimmel impression.
Yeah.
I had to look at the screen.
Pretty good impersonation, actually.
And so they made a little video like they do, right?
Yeah.
Like their channel makes videos, right?
Yeah.
Where they show somebody watching somebody playing a game. And then they show somebody watching somebody playing a game, and they get all the way up like 4 levels of that, right? Where at the very end, it's like a person watching a person watching a person watching a person play a game. And then he's like, yeah, I don't understand that. That seems stupid. Now my guest tonight is blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, it's a silly joke that is meant for a mass audience, not for the people who actually he's kind of mocking.
Well, guess what? Those people saw it, because the next night he stands up and he's reading off basically YouTube comments.
Oh yeah,
that are people that are like, "You're stupid. You're fat. Get AIDS. Die in a fire." Like, you're just mad because your medium is dying and you have no talent.
Yeah, I do like the fact that a lot of people refer to him as fat, and he's actually lost a lot of weight.
Yep.
And is actually kind of skinny right now. Like, I think he's skinnier than me.
Yep. So he came out and he read all of these, and then he put this video on YouTube, and then he came out the next day and read all the comments from that video, which had then, by that point, as you well know, John, had dipped into, like, you better watch your back, you don't know who you're fucking with, like, oh boy. So
I don't understand people.
So here's the thing. I got something to say to Mr. Kimmel, and I got something to say to the world in general, shall we say. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. I mean, he's making fun of something in front. Like, okay, late night television? Really? Who the fuck even cares about late night television anymore? Nobody cares about late night television, do they? Do you watch?
Yeah,
late night
some
television?
people do.
Okay, but I guess what I'm saying is that, like, why? I've been perfectly happy to ignore Jimmy Kimmel for the entire time he's been on television, just as I did David Letterman, Jay Leno, and everybody back to, I don't know, Carson. Maybe I watched a little bit. But, like, why would you ever watch late night television when you've got a whole internet at your fingertips and whatever? I also feel like these YouTube comments, like, video game people, I mean, I think that everybody who listens to Rage Select, I don't think that any of these people are people who would listen to Rage Select, right? But if there's any of you Jimmy Kimmel YouTube comment people out there, like, dude, why? Why even bother? Like, I'm just going to tell you this right now. Why bother writing anything in the comments to Jimmy Kimmel's? You're just giving him more material. He spent 2 days on the air reading your comments and getting big laughs from it.
You want to know something?
What's that?
I can almost guarantee you some of those are for that exact reason. Because they wanted to see their comment on TV.
They tried to make the I mean, this, okay.
Now, mind you, I don't think everybody, I think there's probably a lot of people who are, like, seriously writing that for realsies and are totally upset.
Yeah.
And in some ways, I get it, because when you look at the late night landscape, like you said, let's look at Jimmy Fallon, for example.
Right.
Dude has game developers and game designers and premieres of video game stuff on his show all the fucking time.
Conan O'Brien is a more popular Let's Player than I am, right?
Conan O'Brien does Let's Plays. So I feel like it's also part of his thing where you have like all these late night people embracing that culture or that place, and then you have the one guy who decides to make fun of it.
Yeah.
Even though it's weird because Conan makes fun of it in a loving way.
Yeah.
Like he's like, you're just a bunch of fucking nerds, but still, it's crazy awesome.
Right.
But Kimmel's just like, no, you're just a bunch of fucking nerds, and you're not awesome at all.
I don't know.
And so people get upset because it's the one guy who's basically poking him in the eye.
He's trolling you.
He's trolling him.
He's
totally
trolling you commenters.
Yes, he is.
If you want him to stop commenting. Just don't click on anything that says Jimmy Kimmel. That's all you have to do. Because look, in these 3 videos that I've got up on YouTube that are all like on Jimmy Kimmel's channel, right?
Yeah.
The very first one that was this dumb skit that was whatever. It's the level of a dumb Rage Select skit, right? Or something stupid you might see on like the John Oliver show.
Yeah.
It was fine. It was. I mean, I take a slight amount of personal offense to it, but South Park had a whole 2-parter making fun of Let's Plays and how the kids don't understand what the new kids are into, right?
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck? This first one has 970,000 views. The second one has 1.26 million views, and the third one has another 500,000 views. Like, he's gotten more traction off of your hate than he would have if you'd have just been like, that guy's a fucking asshole. I'm going to go play some Metal Gear, right? Like,
yeah.
That's all you have to do.
The funny thing about it is that all those views are the people who are upset.
Well, yes. Well, it's also
and you.
It's very interesting because the like to dislike ratio on these is so far in the dislike direction. Like the first one is 7,700 thumbs up and 117,000 thumbs down.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just want to say to the Rage Select people, I'm pretty sure that none of the quotes that I saw there seem to be you guys' usernames. Good job.
Yeah, and also no references to the Dong Lord, which we appreciate.
No. If you're gonna bash Jimmy Kimmel, like if you use the Dong Lord, he might actually read that on the air. He'd be like, "What's a Dong Lord?" And I could be like, "Yeah, Austin, Texas, Lone Star Gyms." What? I don't know why that's my rallying cry, but anyway,
it's a weird rallying cry.
It is very strange. But yes, please, if you're that upset by him, don't play his game. Just refrain. Don't play the game. Simply refrain. I don't know. Anyway, also, I feel like we should all on the internet just kind of like
calm the fuck down.
You just take it easy with the like. I hope you get cancer, or what the one person was like. You should be
Someone
afraid
told him to go fuck a pigeon.
Start your car in the morning, right? Like you're the mafia or something. Like what the fuck? Come on. Okay. My dog is all up in my laps right now. All right, let's go ahead and roll. I think that was the last like honest to God story that I had, so we're just going to roll through the rest of this real fast. Resident Evil 0 is coming in January.
Yeah, it's a remaster, HD remaster of the.
You can buy it. If you bought you can buy it for $40 on a disc with the Resident Evil 1 HD.
Oh, nice.
Or if you bought Resident Evil 1, you can get it on. There's some kind of deal where it'll like let you buy it for like
cheap
$15 or something
cool.
like that, right?
That actually sounds like something that I would contemplate doing.
Actually, no. This isn't. How much was the HD remake? Was it $10 or was it $15?
I thought it was $15.
If it was $15, then yeah, you'll save $5 by getting it. It's $40 for the disc, and then you can get it if you have the HD remake of Resident Evil 1. You can pick up the 0-1 digitally for $20.
Oh, okay.
Final Fantasy 15 has a release date of 2016.
Finally.
And when in 2016?
It's anyone's guess.
They're going to announce it at a special event in March of 2016. No. Square elaborated on this release window by stating the actual release date in 2016 will be unveiled at a special event in March 2016. So if they're going to announce when it's going to come out in March...
Probably not coming out in March.
October or November. I'm going to say it right now.
I'm going to say November.
Yeah.
I'm putting my money on November.
Yeah. There's no way they'll release it in the middle of the summertime. Maybe September at the earliest.
Yeah. I strangely want to play that game.
Phoenix Wright, Ace 36 is coming to the United States. So
awesome.
Good on you.
I love me some Phoenix Wright.
I missed the last 3, so
Yeah, I haven't really played any of them in a while.
And now for the bad news. Okay. You remember that game Moonrise that we played on Super Awesome Video Game Show?
Yeah, it was an online MMO Pokemon game.
Yep, made by the makers of State of Decay. Apparently, it was going to be free to. It's going to be free to play, or it was free to play, right?
It was going to be free to play once it went live.
Right. It was cost
To
money
get
in early
into
access.
the early access,
Right.
you had to pay money.
Apparently, there's a little quote from the developer here, Jeff Strain, who said, "What is this? Is this who it was?" Yeah, Strain wrote that basically like. Unfortunately, as a free-to-play game, like they got a bunch of people who came in, they played it, and they stopped playing it, then they never came back to play it again.
And those were the people who paid for it. Those weren't even people who got it for free. So it was. I mean, it sucked because like I didn't buy it because I mean you bought it for Super Awesome Video Game Show, and I was like, all right, I can't wait for this game to actually come out because I'm totally going to play it when it comes out.
Yeah.
And then now it's not coming out, and I'm like, all right, well that sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. I mean, it seems
because
like
it wasn't a terrible game.
It seemed like a really good concept. They are doing it up right, though. I mean, the servers are going to be turned on until December 31st, and basically I think that they're opening up the floodgates and basically just giving people a bunch of in-game currency and a bunch of special items that they were going to make for, like, premium packs and whatnot.
And I think they're turning on some features that hadn't been fully turned on yet.
Yeah, and they're just going to kind of let it run until December. Yeah. So, pour one out for Moonrise. That game, I mean, it had a lot of nice production value. It looked good. It played all right. Yeah. And let's see, Harmonix is going to be crowdfunding something through the FIG, the Tim Schafer thing. It's raising a little bit of concern because apparently they're going to be doing this before Amplitude is out or before the PS3 version of Amplitude is out or something. But you know what? I just want Rock Band to come out. When the fuck is Rock Band 4?
October.
It's too long.
Yeah, no, I haven't done it yet, but because I've had to wait for my money to be financially viable. But I'm going to go pre-order it, the full band kit.
Was it? Did I read a story last week that the Xbox version is going to be like $10 more expensive?
So
because it comes with a dongle or something.
If it's the disc only version,
okay,
it will come with a dongle because on the Xbox 360, it connected wirelessly through Xbox's proprietary wireless technology, all the controllers.
Oh.
Whereas on the PlayStation 3, it actually had a dongle.
Right.
So for the PlayStation 4, all you have to do is connect that dongle to your PlayStation 4 for the PlayStation 3, and your PlayStation 3 console versions will work.
Okay.
For Xbox, they have no way to get that proprietary Xbox 360 stuff to work, so they had to create a dongle.
Okay.
And so if you buy the disc-only version that comes with no instruments, it costs $10 more so that you can get that dongle.
It seems like what else do you know what else on the 360 used that technology? So it's sort of
any controller.
What's that?
Any wireless controller that didn't come with a dongle of some kind.
Okay.
So yeah, I actually was very curious about that. I was wondering if that's but
does it cost more? Is that what I thought that was what I read? Was that it costs?
Well, the disc version will cost more.
Okay.
So, but if you're buying like the band kit or the guitar kit thing, it won't come with the dongle, so it's going to cost the same.
It'll have all the instruments, right?
But they are going to sell the dongle separately, and but they haven't announced what the price of it will be.
Okay.
Separately. So yeah, but I'm going to go pre-order a full band kit, so I'll have that when it launches. So it'll be nice.
All right. XCOM 2 has been pushed to next year. Boo. Boo.
Here's the thing.
Booers.
My immediate reaction is that, but on the same time, I'd rather them release a complete working game than a broken game.
Yep. There's also a story that just came through today that was apparently they're putting it out on the Vita as well. And
really?
Yeah, I think that's what it said. That they're let's see.
Last I had heard, they were completely ignoring any type of handheld.
No. OG XCOM. I'm sorry,
not
XCOM
OG
2.
XCOM.
The previous one.
Okay,
which
that makes sense.
Cool. Like I think that would be great.
That's cool. That's
especially if you could do it with like touchscreens. It's already on like iOS, right?
Yes.
They already have it on iOS.
Yes,
okay.
they do.
All right. And last but not least, hey, you remember when they dug up all those ET cartridges?
Yeah.
Apparently, that worked out real well for the city in New Mexico. Brought in about $108,000 from auctioning those cartridges off on eBay.
Nice.
And how's it split up? 65,000 going to the city, 16,000 going to the historical society, and 26.5 thousand going to expenses like shipping the games,
nice,
etc. So, yeah, it's nice to see that worked out. I remember when that story first started. It was several years ago, and I was just like, "Why are you doing that?" But
they were just mad that the angry video game nerd made his movie about looking for the landfill. And that it was coming out. They're like, well, so we're going to actually find it, and then totally make people forget about his stupid movie.
I just go, why in the world would you want that? I mean, like, it's just strange to me because the story is, well, a company made a game so bad it wouldn't sell, so they threw it away. And then, like, several decades later, everybody was like, let's go dig this up.
The thing is that no one knew if it was true. It was like an urban legend. It became to the point that no one knew where the landfill was. Like, even the people who worked for Atari had no fucking clue where the landfill was.
Somebody knew where that landfill was.
And it was basically, but I'm just saying, that was the whole thing. Is
right.
It became this huge urban legend. And so someone finally went, why don't we go find it?
I like the idea that this huge urban legend spawned from this interaction. Hey, what did we do with those cartridges? We threw them away. Where? I don't remember.
Buried them in the desert.
Yeah, it's just somewhere.
Like
the fucking Ark of the Covenant. It's just decomposed shitty game. It's all that it is. I got some copies of like Giant Citizen Kabuto. Is you guys want to pay $200 for those? I'll send them to you. All right. Anyway. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to answer your questions. And, yeah, so stick around. Mail at RageSelect.com is the email address. Be back momentarily.
What's wrong? Snake!
Whew. Got some of that nicotine lozenge in me, John. I'm almost out. I'm almost out of my nicotine lozenges.
Need to get more.
I got one thing left. I got 27 left in there, and then I'm going to be done. I don't know. I've only had like 3 today. So, but welcome back, everybody. Nobody cares about how little or how much I'm smoking. It's time for the questions. Are you ready for questions?
I am ready for questions.
All right. Well, we're going to answer as many as we can in the next like 45 or so minutes because we're a little bit long with news. But that's just what happens when the words Metal Gear come out of my mouth. Mail at RageSelect.com is the email address. Send us your questions. Do send them in. When you think about them, just go boop.
Before we actually get to the question, I got to ask you a question that just popped in my head.
Okay.
Since we're in the question section.
Sure. Send it into mail at RageSelect.com and I'll pull
whenever
it up.
you get the urge to say Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Do you ever like hesitate and just go Metal Gear?
No, I don't.
Does that ever pop in your head where you just want to be like, so I was playing Metal Gear.
Metal Gear.
Metal Gear.
Metal Gear.
Do your best David Hayter impersonation. Because every time I say that word, that's immediately what I want to do.
I find it interesting, like how it seems to me like with this coming out, not to get too much back into Metal Gear, but it's been so long since there was a game.
Yeah,
like Dark Souls 1 and 2 and Bloodborne have all come out between Peace Walker and now, right?
Yeah.
And Peace Walker, well, okay, I guess Revengeance counts, but I'm talking like Kojima games, right? Peace Walker,
Ground Zeroes doesn't really count as a full game.
I'm man enough now to admit that was. I mean, here's the weird thing. Like, I kind of am a little. This is another one of those things. Is like, okay, like they put out demos for Metal Gear before, and I don't know if that's what they were doing. I don't know if they were trying something for crowd fighting. But like, if you were to play The Phantom Pain and not play Ground Zeroes, it would be weird. It would be very weird because you start out. Not spoilers because this was how they announced the game was with this trailer. Remember the first trailer that they had for that when it was just called The Phantom Pain before everybody put the thing in there where it was in the hospital and it was just like hallucinations and stuff, right? Okay. That's the beginning. But how Big Boss gets into that hospital is the end of Ground Zeroes.
Yeah.
And if you didn't play Ground Zeroes, it'd be like, wait, what? Like if you didn't play that game, so it's essential, but you would have to buy it like it's another product, and that's another one of those kind of same things about just like.
Well, Kojima's actually talked about that.
Yeah.
Like it was Ground Zeroes was originally supposed to be like part of Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain. Like it was all supposed to, but
Jesus,
because of the time it was taking, because they had to delay the game,
Right.
He went, well, I don't want to go too long without making a game, and I know that the next generation is going to be coming soon, so I want to get something out on this console generation.
Right.
So here's this part where I'm going to cut off here, release this,
Right.
and to tide people over.
Yeah.
So, I mean that's neither here nor there.
I mean, like, here's the thing: is that I know that I'm kind of walking back my review of it because
Yeah.
I honestly thought that it was, what was it, like $40 when it came out?
Yeah, I think so.
Like, it's one of those things like the document of Metal Gear Solid that it's for Metal Gear super fans. But then, if that's the case, it sucks that they don't, at least at the beginning of Metal Gear, like maybe do a thing where they ask you, like, hey, did you play Ground Zeroes? And if you didn't play Ground Zeroes, give you like,
or do like the Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3 thing where it looks to see if you have a save file, and if you don't, it goes, okay, you don't have a save file, so we're going to assume you didn't.
It would honestly not be that difficult to have added in like an optional, like maybe some flashes before the game starts, or like maybe at some point like a menu option to be like, if you want to see what happened in there, you can hit this and we'll show you a quick video
I get
which
you.
cobbled together.
Yeah. But
anywho,
despite, I was just the wild tangent because I just wanted to go Metal Gear.
Metal Gear. I'm just trying to figure out when the HD release of from the game of blah 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 blue blue. Okay, I can't tell from this article. Anyway. All right, our first question comes in from Dom. Dom says, hello, Jeff and John. First question. Oh, he's got multiple questions. Oh,
Ooh.
That's what all these bold things are. Okay, we have to go real fast, right?
All right.
Okay. What superhero would you guys personally want to see Kojima do? I'm assuming he means make a game of and not fuck out back by a dumpster.
Yeah, I'm going to assume he's talking about like comic book superheroes.
This is Rage Slick, so I can never entirely rule out dumpster dick, but 80% he's talking about video games.
Yeah.
Do you have a thought about that?
Supreme.
Supreme?
Yeah.
Okay. It's interesting.
If only because of the meta aspects of the later stuff.
Okay. I'm going to go with The Question. That's who that's called, right? With the no face?
Yeah.
Renee
Yeah,
Montoya
it's The
or
Question.
the dude before. I think that it would be really cool to have a video game. I think it'd be really cool to have a superhero video game where you play as a non-powered superhero in a world full of like crazy gods and superheroes. And I think Kojima might be just the guy to do it. Oh, no. You know what? It would probably need to be something like The Boys or Transmetropolitan or something where he could just get all of his weirdness out there.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's also kind of why I went with Supreme, because still getting the superhero stuff, you're still getting the Superman archetype, but you're also dealing with some very meta, very contextual
Ooh, I figured it out.
elements.
Ooh, I figured it out.
Okay.
Suicide Squad. He'd be perfect for that.
Yeah.
Because you have all the military stuff,
Yeah.
and then it'd have all of, like the background, the DEO and the government, and what does this mean, and blah 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 blah, and big reveals, right? And then at the end, Deadshot takes his mask off, and it's actually Solid Snake, and not.
And it's
Deadshot.
David Hayter.
That's right. It's David
Playing
Hayter.
Deadshot.
Deadshot. All right. Let's see. This is the next one. I thought of a fun answer to one of the usual questions that might spark some imagination in yourself and John. What game company do you want to see make a video game about your favorite / certain superhero? Okay. This is a weirdly put together question, Dom. As John and you were talking about Metal Gear Rising, I suddenly figured out who might be the best company for Superman. Platinum. Invincibility seems to be a thing in Bayonetta. It's not. The point being over-the-top action and insane set pieces. Instead of a health bar, a bar based on solar energy storage, basic attacks and combos don't affect this, but heavier powers like heat vision and ice breath drain it faster. Some enemies can only be beaten by some variation of use of powers. Bar slowly refills, but refills faster in the full sunlight. Do you think of anyone else they would be good for? Who else? Platinum? Platinum, I feel like, could make any.
Platinum
superhero.
has it makes every other game nowadays.
Yeah.
So it's like literally every second game that's released, it's a Platinum game. So
I'm trying to think. I'd like to maybe see Platinum take on like some of the cosmic Marvel heroes.
Silver Surfer.
Sure. Or maybe like a New Gods video game. That would be cool, right?
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Flying around like Orion.
Yeah, on their
Fighting Apocalypse.
their
going
weird
through.
cosmic
Ooh.
space trike or whatever.
scot-free Mr. Miracle.
Yeah.
Platinum games.
Oh, yeah, that would be great.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, yeah. You have a 2-player mode. Big Barda's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Another question from a previous unworthy email. How necessary are the Dune appendices? I know this can be a bit of a personal taste question, but how often you read them? But with how often you read them, I figure you have an idea of future books built on the concept. If there's some quality moments. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm butchering your question. I'm just going to read the thing. How necessary are the Dune appendices? You're loyal, if minor patron, Dom. I don't know. I won't read any of them because I would rather just read Dune again. As I understand it from a few, I have not read them myself, but from a few sources that I trust, I don't like the idea of somebody taking his universe, of Frank Herbert's universe, even if it is his son, and expanding it with all these different books. I mean, there's 5 main Dune books, and there's like 10 appendices books, and I'm just like, oh, no. I'll just read the beginning ones again. So that's all I got. You're not
I've never read them.
Not a Dune fan, or just
actually, I like
haven't.
Dune, but I truthfully, I've never read. I've tried reading the first book and I couldn't get through it.
It's dense as hell.
It's dense.
Dense motherfucker. Christian writes in to say, hey guys, hope you are having a wonderful day. I've had my PS4 over a year now, and it's the first Sony console I've had in over a decade. I've always loved sim racers like Gran Turismo and Forza Motorsport, but nothing like that really exists on the PS4. So in short, my question to you fine folks is, when the fuck do you think a new Gran Turismo is going to come out? Well, I don't know. Let me do a search.
Don't hold your breath.
I would say don't hold your breath because Gran Turismo traditionally takes forever all the time. I think it's actually kind of interesting that when I was thinking about this question that like I was like, yeah, Forza's really done a number on Gran Turismo, haven't they? Like,
yeah, they kind of went, you could do so can you can do that, so can we, and we can do more.
And then on the PC, you've got stuff like Project Cars.
Project Cars, yeah.
There's at least a few others I feel like we've covered at one point or another.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, like the Drive Club games or whatever.
So here's the thing. There's Wikipedia listing Gran Turismo 7, upcoming racing video game developed by Polyphony Digital. 2000. It's TBA, but apparently it's in development. An interview with the Japanese magazine Famitsu. Series creator Kazunori Yamauchi mentioned that GT7 will be coming to the PS4 console possibly in a year or two, and that's from 2013. He also mentioned that it will be based on the same physics engine that Gran Turismo 6 uses. So that's about as much information as I have. I don't know. Do you ever play sim racers? I don't. I used to.
I mean,
when they were the best looking games out there, it's like I could kind of get a few weekends out of them.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I like the Forza games; they're all right. I used to play a lot of Ridge Racer. That's not really the thing, though.
No.
Obviously Burnout, which is
not
the same thing.
Not a sim racer. Yeah.
But like I play racing games like Need for Speed and those other games, but not like I never really could get into the Gran Turismo games.
I mean, I think that there's a certain point in all of those games, kind of like the DCS games on the PC, where it's like I don't understand the levers that you're asking me to switch at this point. I don't understand what adjusting the suspension in one direction or another is going to actually do for my car because I'm not a car guy. Like I just don't.
Yeah, I have a friend who's like super into that whole sim racing world, especially on PC and stuff like that. Like he actually has his part of like a racing league and
does he have a wheel?
He built his own car frame.
What?
As a controller that he attached a wheel to and has like an actual racing car seat in it, and
wow,
like he actually built it, like welded it together and everything. So
that's way more than I got.
Yeah, it's crazy. It takes up like half his bedroom.
Let's see. Our next one comes in from Chris, who says, "Dear Jeff and John, I'm currently trying to slug through Borderlands 2 for a third time. My schedule keeps me from sitting down with the game for more than about an hour at a time, and this makes forward progress difficult in a checkpoint-based game like Borderlands or Diablo or Bioshock Infinite, etc. Because enemies respawn when you come back to the game, you are moved to the last checkpoint and basically have to replay 10 to 30 minutes of the game to get back to where you were prior to exit. I imagine that many like this. As it is seen as. Okay. Sorry. I imagine that many like this because it is seen as added difficulty. But to me, I see it as added fluff to pad out playtime. Worst of all, the developer would seem to be disrespecting my personal time as a result. When I look back at a game like Half-Life or Bethesda games, all with quick save and a real save state option, I'm much more inclined to play these as it allows me to pick up exactly where I left off. Again, respecting my time. I know that there are people out there who will call save scumming on me for wanting this, since one can simply keep retrying as seen too quickly if they fail, or worse, get a better loot/reward option out of a game by breaking its random seed. But that is a developer choice, of course. In closing, what is your preference? Checkpoints or the ability to save the state of the game and come back to it? Thanks. Keep up the great weekly podcast as it makes mine, and I'm sure many others, Mondays go faster. Chris in California. California Chris. What do you think, John? You have any preference on that?
I don't really have a preference, really.
I think that for consoles, I like checkpoints.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to, I just don't want to bring up a menu and hit save and load.
No, I get that.
I will say, to me, and then for the PC, I usually prefer quick saving. Like it really,
because with PC, it's usually a hotkey. You can
it's
do like Alt
F5, right?
Yeah.
And then F9 to load. I think that what I really care about more than anything is games that don't make it clear when you hit a checkpoint.
Yeah.
Like I know that Last of Us had a thing, right, where you could go into the menu and it would tell you how long it had been since you hit the last checkpoint, so you could know, when it happened. Yeah. So I'm kind of, either way is kind of fine with me, but then I sit in front of my console all day, every day.
Yes,
so
you do.
It's a little bit of a moot point.
Yeah.
All right, our next one comes in from Swordfish Trombone, who says, "Hello, Jeff and John. I have a question regarding the disconnect between story and gameplay, particularly in some AAA action games. I recently played through Far Cry 4, and right from the start, I felt that my actions during the gameplay didn't fit with the character that the developer had established. In minutes, the protagonist goes from being a tourist with no military training to single-handedly taking down whole garrisons of armed soldiers. It was the same story in Far Cry 3 and Tomb Raider, just to name a few. On the one hand, it is nice that a game developer tries to move away from the cliche of grizzled soldier/mercenary, but how far are we gamers supposed to suspend our disbelief regarding our avatar's abilities and transformation between the scripted story and the gameplay? From Sweden, your loyal supporter and patron, Swordfish a Trombone."
You just like saying the name. in
Swordfish
weird ways.
Trombone.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it is a weird disconnect. I do agree with that. Like I have noticed the whole, it's, the teenager or young person that is not, the typical action hero and beginning of the game. They're not very good. And then you level up your character and become the most badass character in all of existence that could punch God in the face and no one would bat an eye.
Yeah.
I
think that in all honesty, you used to see games that would start out like, in RPGs where it would be like, welcome to level 1. You get to kill rats for 20 minutes, right, to level up. And I think that a lot of games have kind of chosen to forsake that because it just feels tedious, right? If you have to, essentially crawl, right, before you walk.
Yeah. Well, you also have games like, Wolfenstein, where you start off with a character whose story is he's a soldier.
Right.
He has been a soldier. Mm-hmm. He is trained to do what you are doing on screen. Your character's a badass. Go be a badass.
Right.
Whereas, with games like Far Cry 3 and 4 and, some of the other games that he mentioned, your character, even Just Cause, for example. Just Cause, these characters are badasses before they get there.
Sure.
And you are just continuing their story of being badass.
Mm-hmm.
But with these, you're playing as,
I'm trying to think of other examples where there's a big disconnect between.
Yeah, where it's like you're, a kid who's never seen war had to fight for anything, and
Right.
you like extreme sports, woo!
Yeah.
So it's like, and then suddenly it's like, oh my god, I'm in this situation where within 5 minutes I become the most badass warrior of all time.
Well, no, that dude gave him a tattoo. That's what made him the warrior.
Well, we
right?
all know that tattoos make you warriors.
What makes you a badass is having a tattoo. I don't have any tattoos. That's why I'm not a badass, John. That's what it is. No, I mean, I think that when this particular question comes up, there's always the example of the beginning of Uncharted 2, where you're sneaking into the museum.
Oh, yeah?
And Nathan Drake takes his scumbag partner's gun away and is like, no, we're just using tranquilizer missions. Nobody gets killed today. And then there's a very conspicuous part where he climbs up a ladder and then grabs a guy and basically throws him off the top of a building.
Yeah.
You're just like, whoa, Mr. Drake, I thought we were not supposed to be killing somebody.
He's just hurt.
He landed in a pile of hay, and we all know that I mean, let's not Swordfish Trombone, let's be a little bit careful as gamers about going down the what's realistic and what's not the suspension of disbelief alleyway, because seriously, no amount of hay in the world is going to stop you from dying when you jump off the top of a cathedral into it.
Mythbusters has proved that already.
Oh, have they?
They proved that you will die.
Well, but
They busted that myth.
I guess that's a question. Is just that I also feel like a lot of what we actually believe, like if we were to take not just games, right?
Yeah.
But we were just to I remember watching a Mythbusters where they were like, we're going to try to shoot the lock off of a door with a handgun, and no, that doesn't work. You can't do that. There's a reason that they, or this is what I'm remembering, right? There's a reason that they shoot the hinges off the door with a shotgun and then kick it in from that side, as opposed to trying to shoot the lock off of a door, because the lock's all made of metal. You shoot metal bullets at metal, and they just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
The number of cars in movies that explode. Just the entirety of the way that police work on television and in the movies is completely fictional and not the way that it is in real life. If you go down this rabbit hole too far, you're going to find yourself in some really weird situations. But I don't know. I mean, I think that I commented on it
Unlike the movie Ghostbusters would lead you to believe, dogs and cats can live together.
That's correct. That's correct. I'm trying to think. Wait,
and it would not be mass hysteria.
Mass Effect 3 was the one where you play as Grant or Jason. I mean, it was those guys. And then Mass Effect 4. Oh yeah, Mass Effect 4. You were the son of
Mass Effect 4.
Far Cry 4. I'm sorry, it's just I've had very little sleep.
Yeah, Far Cry.
Far Cry 4. Yeah, you're just kind of on a bus. I mean, that guy. Yeah, no, that reads correctly. I don't know. I mean, there's something though that we love in fiction in general about
It's empowering.
the everyman, the hero's journey, right?
Yeah, it's the hero's journey. It's also, it's done so it's like, oh, this guy is kind of never really had to see conflict, and he's, thrust into this world, and guess what? Him being this complete weakling, or not weakling per se, but he has some element that makes it somewhat believable that he could get these skills or whatnot. But starts off as someone who doesn't, and that helps you become that character. It's immersion. It helps you believe that you're playing as that character. That character is you.
I think that just for Far Cry 3 and 4, I think the biggest problem there is it's very jarring.
Yeah.
Is it just goes from well, whatever, to okay, here's a gun, and I'm just going to start shooting people right immediately. I actually thought that Tomb Raider did a better job with that.
I actually thought Tomb Raider did a really good job.
Builds up to it at least a little bit, a little bit at a time. So yeah, I mean, I can definitely get on board with that. I'd be interested though to find out from the people that are listening, what the most glaring examples are to you of a place where just the difference between who your character is supposed to be and then the story took you out of it for any reason. Because I'm racking my brain, kind of trying to think of it, and for the most part, I feel like most games are pretty good about that.
Yeah.
You're either some kind of paramilitary badass by default, or they do a pretty good job of transitioning.
Yeah.
All right, next up, this one's from Rob. Rob says, Hey, Jeff and John. I recently stumbled across Rage Select on YouTube, and I've been blown away. Your weekly podcast keeps me company on the long walk from the station to my work every Monday, and your playthrough videos are great for all the time that I spend on the bus and train. Having listened to a few podcasts now, I noticed that you used to work in the corporate world, something which you've obviously left to pursue something you enjoy. I work as an accountant, and I've been thinking of quitting and starting my own online retail business. Do you have any advice / inspiration / warnings in regard to leaving a 9-to-5 job and becoming self-employed? Any regrets? Thanks for reading this email. Keep those videos coming. Rob, London, UK.
Yeah, this is going to be one for you because I still have the 9-to-5 job.
Yeah, I don't know. You've started up projects, though, right? I mean, you've got All-Rings and, you'd Geek Bombast for a while, right?
Yeah, but I didn't make money on any of that stuff. Like, I don't do that stuff for a profit. Like, that's all done as a hobby.
Well, I can't really tell him anything about starting his own online retail business. What I can here's some things that I will tell you. Working from home blows. Like everybody that has to get up and go to a job will tell you that they'll be like, "Oh man, I wish I could work from home." Blah blah blah. I hate it. I hate working from home.
Yeah. And I can say that because when I worked at Dell, I did participate for a very short period of time of a work from home program.
Yeah.
Where I got to work from home. It's not cool.
It sucks
Because when you're at work, all you want to do is leave work.
Right.
When you're at home, you don't want to go to work.
Right.
But when both those places are the same place, you never want to be at home.
Yeah, I have to there are lots of times where I will go to the bar by myself on Sundays just to get out of here.
Yeah.
Just to get out of my house because I spend all my time here. And whether it's playing video games or doing podcasts or recording or editing or whatever, it's all here.
Yeah. I had always told myself back when I first started Geek Bombast with the friends that I had started with, we'd always said, well, we're doing this for fun for now, but there's always the possibility that at some point we could actually make money off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd always said that if we get to a certain point, we're fucking renting an office building somewhere. Even if it's like a two-room office or a one-room office, we're renting an office somewhere so that if that becomes our 9-to-5 job, we have somewhere we have to go to work.
Yes.
Because I am not working from home.
If we made enough money, I would do that. I would find some horrible office space and rent it. But so that's a bummer too. Plus, I will tell you right now, Rob, that my sleeping schedule has been effectively destroyed because outside of the time when people get off work and they come over to record with me, I don't really have to be awake or go to sleep at any particular time. And considering that most of the people that I know record my earliest recordings will be sometimes Joe and I will record at 2 in the afternoon. So I don't got to get up until noon, and that go to sleep time just keeps pushing further and further out.
Yeah.
There's something really nice about the delineation of having somebody to tell you must wake up and be here at time X, right?
Now, having said that, we're also probably not the best people to answer this question because he's asking for an online store, to do a business that Rage Select is not really, outside of every now and then, occasionally, not really predominantly an online store type service.
Yep.
So it's possible that you may do your online store and have completely different experience than what Jeff is talking about.
What I would highly recommend to you, Rob, if this is at all possible, I don't know where you live, is designate a room to be an office. And I would almost even go one step further to be designate a room as an office, and then if you've got both a desktop and a laptop, keep your laptop the fuck out of that room, and when you're done working, leave that room and close the door. Yeah. Make a room for work and a room and the rest of your place for not work, because the bleed between the two of them is just, it can be nerve-wracking and tiring.
I agree with that.
It's also real easy to stop showering as often, but nobody complains about the smell, so I don't know if that's such a big problem.
Well, we try not to say anything.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. I haven't stumbled on to the secret Facebook group that's when are we going to get Jeff to shower all the time?
Well, I keep inviting you to it, so...
I just thought you were inviting me to... It says shower party, John. That's not really what I'm into. Is that what that is? Okay. All right, this next one comes in from Bert, who says, "Hello, Jeff and John. Since there's many entertainment connoisseurs there. Any advice on how to publish / pitching a practically finished movie or comic script? I bought a site domain and saved some money, but it seems like a rickety road to do it independently. Keep up the excellent work and rage on, Bert. A lot of advice questions this week.
I'm going to say we're probably the wrong people.
Well, yeah.
That question would probably be better for someone who's not on this
Jason.
episode. Yeah, for Jason.
Yeah. I'm gonna let's see. He's got a practically finished movie and comic scripts. I would highly. Yeah, I don't know that I have a whole lot to offer you outside of, use all the resources that you have. Don't be afraid to ask people for help or advice or assistance or like, hey, do you know a guy? Can I get you to introduce me to this guy? And be really, really careful if you sign anything that because I know that there's stuff where you'll basically be submitting a script to somebody, and then if you read the fine print, basically by submitting it, you were giving them the ability to keep it.
Yeah. The closest I could say would probably be, or anything would probably be in regards to the comic scripts.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I can say that, if they contain licensed characters, don't even bother.
Don't even bother?
Don't even bother.
Okay.
You may keep them as just reference or whatever, so that if you ever were to apply for a job at, say, Marvel or DC, you can go, oh, hey, I wrote these stories, or here's a pitch for a story idea that I have.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're all comics about Superman or comics about Batman or comics about the X-Men or the Avengers or whatever, there's not going to be any place you can submit those.
Okay.
That's not how the comic industry works. Now, if they are completely original stories, you're like, oh man, these would be really great stories. All I can say with that, find an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Find an artist that is willing, and pay this artist. That's the other thing, is that don't go, hey, I've got this awesome comic story. You should draw it, but I can't pay you, but you should totally draw it. Don't do that. That's fucking terrible.
Okay, and I'm about quick addendum to that, because I agree with you 100%, unless, if you're just starting out, if you've got, a friend who is jazzed, who you can basically be like, I'm going to give you points on this so that if we sell it, you're going to get X percentage of it.
If it's a friend, who's someone who's like, I want to draw it because I do think, that's one thing. Yeah. But if you're
don't go to a comic book convention and go up to Matt Frank and be like,
but if you're, if you have a friend and you tell them about the story and they're like, oh man, I want to draw that, and you're like, okay, let's collaborate. That's one thing. But if it's like I'm gonna, I saw this artist who I think would be perfect for it. I'm gonna contact them to see if they'll draw my comic book. Mm-hmm. Be like, hey, what are your page rates? And be completely expected to pay whatever they're wanting. And if they say that if they're wanting to pay too much, if they're saying, oh well, this is my page rate, and you don't have that kind of money, don't be insulting. Be like, well, I can't really pay you that much. Just be like, all right, cool, that's a little bit out of my budget. Thank you for letting me know. And at the very least, the worst case scenario is they say too much, or they look at you and go, sorry, man, no, I'm not interested.
And if the other thing you can also do, it's really more advice than I thought. If it's a good idea, right, is if it's a script, you can make an animatic. You can also find an artist. You can make some storyboards, or an animatic, which is basically storyboards with the line reading underneath it, right, that you can make into a video that people can kind of see as a proof of concept. I think that there's a lot to be said these days with proof of concept. If you can put together 2 or 3 pages of your comic that represent kind of what it's about, that are fully produced, you are probably going to be, for pitching purposes, a head and shoulders. You're going to be ahead of people who just basically have, if everybody's walking in with a sheaf of papers about their comic script, and you've got 3 or 4 pages that give people an idea of what it's going to look like, and what.
Yeah, and you can totally float that around to companies like Image Comics and I don't know about Dark Horse, but Dark Horse or Black Mask or whatever. You could. That's totally you can pitch those stuff. But
and also if you have enough of an internet presence, Patreon is blowing up, man. There's tons of people on Patreon, or if you've got a good enough thing where you can put some of it out there and then see if people are willing to give you some money, and then maybe funnel that back into doing it and to produce pages, right? I don't know. I know a lot of people who are working with Patreon. That seems like we were talking before about how, well, actually we were talking off the air about how you can't make. unless you're huge, you cannot make jack shit money off of ads these days. But what you can do is kind of develop a relationship with people who are actually interested in supporting you to whatever extent they're willing to support you. And then you can kind of gauge from there about, whether you're going to need to hook up with another organization or whether you can kind of go it alone. Just be careful, though, because, like I said, the internet is full of thieving motherfuckers. So, all right, got a couple more questions and we're going to be done. First up, this one comes in from Metal Gear Ray, who says, Dear Jeff and John, first I offer many blessings to the Dong Lord and all his holy rigidness. May he bestow upon us all his frothy elixir. Gross. Without further dilly-dallying, on to the question. With the recent firing of Kojima from Konami and the cancellation of Hannibal on NBC, I have sworn off both companies. Konami, because no matter how you slice it, the whole situation is fucked up. And what the hell else are they going to make game-wise anyhow? And NBC, because they're just about as bad as Fox at canceling shows. Now, the meat and potatoes of this email is as follows. Have you ever sworn off an entity based on their politics issues or the way they handle business? And why? I love it. I'm thankful for all you guys do. Thanks for the endless hours of free entertainment. From Loading Bar till now, you guys all rock. Metal Gear, Ray!
Metal Gear.
Metal Gear. Metal Gear.
Metal Gear.
Have you ever sworn off a company, John?
I did swear off DC for a while.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Why?
The New 52.
New 52?
Yeah, it was just, it was all the comics sucked, and it was just like, all right, this company's no longer for me. See you later.
Yeah.
Now, slowly, there are a few books that I do read now, but I mean, even them are like few and far between.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there are times that I've sworn off of companies or specific comic books. In specific, like I stopped reading Spider-Man because of One More Day for almost 5 years. Because I was like, well, I'm done with this. Kind of like bullshit. I'm throwing my money or I'm throwing my mouth where my money is, or whatever, however the term is.
You're putting your money where your mouth is?
Yeah, that's where it is. Thank you. Putting my money where my mouth is.
Where's my money again?
I don't know. Yeah, but yeah. So I mean, it's like I'm basically voting with my wallet or whatever, however the term actually is.
Vote with your dollar.
Yeah.
How do you not know any of these things?
I don't know.
You don't know any.
It's late. I'm tired.
You don't know any money-based things.
No, but anyways, so it's like you know what? I'm not happy with the current state of a comic book. I'm not going to buy it. I'm not happy with the current state of something. Then I'm not going to give them my money to show that I'm not happy.
Sure,
I'm one of the few people that actually does that, and it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
In the long run, but to me it does.
Yeah.
Because, then I go find something new and I go spend that money on something else. As far as one thing I do find funny about his comment, he made the comment of NBC is almost as bad as Fox is. Mm-hmm. Fox is actually not that bad at canceling shows. They just have a track record of canceling certain well-beloved shows. Mm-hmm. Like everyone's like, oh man, every one of Joss Whedon's shows on Fox gets canceled. No, only Firefly got canceled. All of his other shows got at least 3 seasons.
Right. And I stopped watching Dollhouse in season 2. I was just like, I don't know if this is for me.
It's like no, Fox actually doesn't cancel as many shows as people make it out to be.
I could say that I swore. I have a problem a lot of times, John, with the idea of standing up and loudly proclaiming, "I will never blah 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 again." Because who cares? I could say that. There was a time, especially after I read Fast Food Nation, where for probably a decade and a half, and still won't go anywhere near McDonald's.
Oh, no, I won't eat at McDonald's either.
Every so often, I'll break down in the middle of the night and go get some chicken McNuggets, but for the most part, it's just like, no, there's plenty of alternatives in this town. Jack in the Box is open late, and, McDonald's is a fucking awful company. I also, I got to tell you, I'm very close. I heard somebody said, I think after hearing me talk about Windows 10 and all of their privacy things.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was, but somebody gave me a heads up to an article basically that said that Microsoft is going to be putting all the tracking hooks they're going to be patching that into Windows 7 and 8 as well. Yeah. So it doesn't matter if you're not on Windows 10. It's still going to be, I don't know if it's going to be opt-in or opt-out or what it's going to be, because we've talked about this before, right?
Yeah.
But I looked at my daily internet usage, and so when I get some free time, I've got a hard drive that I was originally going to use for some stuff, and I ended up using the solid state drive instead. I think I'm going to move over to Linux, man. Like, I'm not going to swear off Microsoft because I need my Adobe products for
you need
editing.
your work stuff.
But for my day-to-day, I installed Ubuntu on a USB key and booted it up. I don't know, man. You can put Chrome on it, and like you can watch Netflix on it, and you can check your email on it. And I'm just like, why not? You know, it's a free OS. It's not as hard as it used to be to run it. I'm thinking about just like making the switch and going. I also switched off. I used to drink Dos Equis all the time, and then I found out that the green bottles, green glass on beer, doesn't filter UV radiation. Green and clear glass don't keep the sun from skunking up your beer like brown glass does.
Okay.
So I switched from them. I used to drink Dos Equis all the time. Anyway, one more question, then we're done. And this one's just, maybe. This is from Rick, because we've had all the Metal Gear.
Metal Gear.
What is your favorite Metal Gear boss and/or moment, and why? If the Phantom Pain, please spoiler tag it, Rick. I haven't finished Phantom Pain, so I couldn't say.
Spoiler tags.
Spoiler. So all
I
the spoiler
actually don't
tags.
have a spoiler tag. I don't really know because I don't really play the
You
Metal
haven't played
Gear
any
games.
Metal Gear?
I mean, I like I said, I played. 2 is the only Metal Gear game I've actually played to completion.
Metal Gear Solid 2.
Metal Gear Solid 2, yeah.
What was your favorite moment in Metal Gear Solid 2?
The problem is I don't remember most of it.
Okay, all right.
Because it was so long ago, and I was so sleep deprived. So
I could probably pick a moment from each one of the games, but I'm not going to go into that detail. I will say in 2, there's a part at the very end where Ocelot turns into Liquid Snake.
Oh yeah,
where he's got the arm thing, right?
Yeah,
and
Liquid Ocelot.
Yeah, he's in the giant Metal Gear Ray.
Yeah,
and like Snake is handcuffed, and he like closes up Ray and says like, I'm gonna go. He's like talking in Liquid's voice. He's like, I'm gonna go do my thing, and he goes and Solid Snake like busts open his handcuffs and just starts chasing this giant robot, and it jumps off the side of Arsenal Gear into the water.
Yeah.
And Snake just jumps in after it. It's this moment of you see this giant robot and this little tiny guy like going after it, and I'm just like, yeah, go Snake. That's why I want to play this game with you and not this asshole. Because then it's like, all right, well now Raiden and Solidus are going to have a sword fight on top of this thing. I think that oh man, I'm trying to think. There's so many moments, but I think that probably there's a part at the end of Metal Gear Solid 3, and so if you haven't watched us play it or whatever, where after the boss reveals like all of the things that she's done, she asks the Snake to kill her, and it's this scene where it's Snake standing over her body with this gun, and she's just laying on the ground, and the game will not continue until you hit the button to shoot her, and you have to manually do it. Like, it won't do it. I think it won't do it. I think I left it sit there for a little while, but you have to. I may do it eventually if you wait for like 10 minutes or something like that, but you have to hit a button to do it. It was just a really affecting scene. Metal Gear Solid 3.
my favorite boss is the boss.
Is the boss.
Was the boss?
The boss is. I mean, the boss is the reason the entire Metal Gear franchise happens.
Yeah.
Like, her ideology is what spurs Big Boss, which then makes Solid Snake and Major Zero and all that bullshit. Blah 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 blah. So when you think about it, like, I was thinking about it the other day about that's really interesting. The boss is like probably the most powerful and influential character in the entirety of the Metal Gear series, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, there's that. There's the there's a million things. There's a million things. I already talked about the one at the end of Metal Gear Solid 4 in the live stream. So
Yeah.
In any case, we're done. It's super late. John is gonna fall asleep on my couch.
No.
So, okay, John's not going to fall asleep on my couch. Mail@rageselect.com is the email address. Please send your questions in. We need questions if we're going to read the questions. And I think that's about it. So, you know what this is, John? Oh, my God. I just realized what happened. Did you know what just happened?
What?
I just finished everything I need to do this week. I now have 48 hours where I don't have to record anything, where I could just play Metal Gear.
All right. Well, since
Gear.
we finished everything, let me do one last thing for you.
Okay.
Since I started the show for you, let me do one last thing
All
for
right.
you, and then you won't have to do anything else.
Okay. All right. Lay it on me.
All right.
What do you got?
We're done, folks.
Yeah.
See you later.
Woo.
Metal Gear.
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 Metal Gear.